So we're going to start with Manning.
Okay, before we do that, let me introduce you at least. Ohad has an engineering management background, mostly in the aerospace defense industry. He's been doing SRED for 24 years and with me for the past 15 years. So with that, I will get to your case very quickly. Manning Kitchens. Here we go.
Yep. This one was a win for the appellant, but while the appeal was a win, there's a few serious mistakes done here by the claimant, and I'll get to that later. You'll see the reference to the paragraphs in the judgment on each section here. This was, by the way, the informal procedure. So Manning is a Toronto-based producer of healthy drinks and preservative-free beverages, basically. We're talking about tax year 2020. Product was a vinegar cold-pressed juice soda. And the questions here were whether the development constituted the SRED. Okay, the result was the appeal was allowed and sent back to CRA for reassessment. Okay, it was as usual. The baseline here was Northwest Hydraulics, the 5 questions. Did the work involve a technological uncertainty? Minister, okay, this was the first one where they didn't agree. Minister claimed that this was routine engineering. By the way, I don't know if you've all noticed, but CRA has removed the phrase routine engineering from all the literature and replaced it with engineering. So basically, all engineering is now assumed to be routine unless proven otherwise. Just a side note. And the appellant, of course, argued that there was novel development here. Judge found the appellant, Christine Manning, to be credible, and despite not having a scientific or engineering background, accepted her testimony at face value. Respondent here was the RTA, Rahmat Nazarali. Also, the judge found her to be honest and experienced in her field. No expert witnesses were called. Next, please. Now, the objective here. And this was one of the issues under dispute. The appellant claimed that the objective was to create a non-refrigerated, shelf-stable, cold-press juice vinegar soda with or without preservatives. That was left aside. The problem was that this was not what was described on part 2 of the T661. And I've had audits with Ms. Nazarali, and she's one of those RTAs who actually reads the part 2 before the audit and comes prepared. So this was an issue, a contentious issue. And again, I'll get to that later. The problem that the claimant faced was that the cans were exploding because of microorganism emitting oxygen into the sealed cans. Okay. And yes, as I said, the minister claimed that the only objective stated in the T661 was to increase the shelf life of the juice, of the canned juice. And heated and refrigerated solutions are routine in this industry, which is why the claim was initially rejected. The objective of non-refrigerated product was not mentioned on the T661. Now, this the court accepted the appellant's definition of the objective, and as such found that there is a technological uncertainty in this work. The exploding cans were seen by the court as proof of the uncertainty and of the advancement being sought. And the fact that no other product that meets those requirements existed was seen as supporting evidence to the fact of the existence of technological uncertainty. Next, please. Now, the original goal was to find, to develop a product without preservatives. When that failed, the appellant tried several different preservatives, including sorbate, benzoate, and a new one, chiber. Chiber is, sorbate and benzoate are standard preservative in the citrus and juice product market. Chiber is a newer product based on mushrooms, which is currently used only on dairy products, never been used in the juice industry at all till this point. So the application of this preservative in non-dairy beverage was seen by the court as novel, and it did in fact solve the microbial instability and stop the explosion. Okay, the court saw this as exceeding routine engineering. It was an application of an existing method to a new type of product which was not applied to it before. Going to the scientific method, court found that there was a formed hypothesis, observation, conducted measurements including pH, Brix, carbonation, and they were tested systematically. That was not contested by the minister. Next. There was a technological advancement achieved by creating a shelf-stable cold-pressed juice with use of a preservative, namely the chiber one, which was never previously used in such an application. Documentation, again, the two sides did not agree. What the minister claimed is that no adequate documentation was presented to them in the audit. And now I've been audited by Ms. Nazarali, and she's a tough RTA, but she's honest and fair. So when she claims that no adequate documentation was presented, I would assume that that was really the case. Now, the appellant in this case presented what the court called a sample of documentation. My guess is that they presented everything they had on hand. Court cited dual theatrical rigging and Les Abeilles to say that written contemporaneous record is not absolutely essential, and basically played down the role of documentation in this case. And The judge did not review the actual evidence, saying that he's not technical and no technical expert was called to testify. And he reminded the respondent that documentation should be assessed based on its usability to the claimant, right? And he accepted the claim that it was sufficient to maintain adequate control over the development process. Okay. Conclusion was that all 5 criteria of Northwest Hydraulic were satisfied, and the appeal was allowed. Reassessment was ordered by CRA. Now, I want to get back to the issues I mentioned before. This was an informal procedure, so I expect it to have very minor impact on future cases. But even though it was a win for the appellant, our goal is not to win appeals, but to avoid appeals. And I believe this could have easily been avoided if the original goal of a non-refrigerated product was stated clearly on a part 2, ideally as the project title. I don't know how many of you were in the lecture I gave a few years ago about coming up with a winning title for your T661 project. But as a minimum, the goal should be stated this way. It should be stated clearly. Now, what we often see from claimants is what I call the post hoc objective, or basically throwing a dart at an empty board and drawing a bullseye around it to define an objective. And our role as consultants is to dig deeper and find the original objective, even if it wasn't met. Claimants want to show success, but our goal is different. Our goal is to show the uncertainties which were not properly shown in the part 2 here. And the other item to notice here is that the documentation threshold at TCC is very often lower than at an audit. So if your claim is rejected solely based on lack of documentation, then you should seriously consider an appeal. That's it. That's all I have for this one.